Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Michelle from Michelle's Empty Nest, and today I'm going to do a flip through. Hopefully it's going to go fairly quickly of my completed Me, Myself, and I project. I did this in the month of August, and I have process videos showing 4 days at the time or 4 prompts at the time up on my channel, and those go into much more detail about the products and obviously the process of what I was doing, and I have some things linked down in the description boxes of all of those videos. But I thought maybe there might be some people that just wanted to see a quick overview that didn't have the time or the interest in watching the process videos, but would like to see the finished product. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm in a Heidi Swapp Storyline Chapters notebook, and towards the end of the project, I decided to, in order to get the title onto the front, instead of stamping straight onto this that's a little slicky, I love to stamp on fabric, and so this is actually a printable fabric, but I just stamp right on it and then adhere it down with some score tape. So I used Distress Oxides for this. I used a lot of Distress Oxides throughout my album, quite a few different colors. I did use some other inks here and there, scrapbook.com, some Allie Edwards, some Studio Calico, but for the most part, it was Distress Oxides. Okay, so the prompt list is from Hiba at My Little Journal, and you can find it on her Pinterest account, and I will link her below. For my title page, I used Citrus Twist Kit products. I love their ephemera pieces for layering. They just always seem to work well in the kind of style of layering that I like to do. And I just kind of gave it a title of Having Fun at 51. I called it like a subtitle. I needed something to put in the space, and so that worked. So prompt 1 was all about me, and so I just did a little journaling, not a lot, just kind of a brief overview, and made it a little fold there. And this was Freckle Fawn products mostly here. This page for favorite food, I chose 3 things. If you watched any of the others, I have a very hard time narrowing down. If you ask me my favorite anything, I'm typically going to give you several because I just can't narrow it down. So this one, I chose 3 things, and it was from Paper Person, the products from Paper Person here that I used. And I wish I had a souvlaki right now. That would be so good. All right, prompt 3 was my biggest fears. And so I kept this page very simple, and I printed out the pictures that represent my fears: something happening to my husband or my children, my home catching on fire, or someone breaking into my home, specifically when I am home alone. These things give me panic attacks, anxiety, and really almost an irrational fear for these 2. And then I made the photos into a little pocket, and there's double-sided journaling on each of the tags. And all of my journaling, I'm sharing. I've said before that I always intend to be open and authentic. Here, I do struggle with some mental health issues with depression and anxiety, as I mentioned. And so when those things come up in the story, I feel like it's important to share if I feel comfortable with sharing, and I do so far for pretty much everything, because there's somebody out there that might need to hear it, that might need to feel some kind of camaraderie or knowing they're not alone. And so I'm pretty open with what I share. Something that I miss, I put that I miss my boys being at home, and this Together felt piece came from an Allie Edwards kit. These were some that I kind of changed up the order a little bit to make the prompts fit me a little better. So furry friends and feline friends. And so I have our Great Dane Piper, our little Yorkie Ellie, and I just kind of did like a bio for them with their breed, their names, their ages, birth date, the nicknames we call them, and little things about them. And the same on this side for Stella and Margot, my Siamese cats. And so that was really fun to do, and just kind of having that open pocket there. Social media, I just did screenshots of the social media little folder on my home screen of my phone and printed those out to just show what's in my social media folder at this time. You know, maybe 4 or 5 years from now, things may be totally different. Favorite apps, again, I just printed icons. I did some color picking on both of these to get something out of one of the icons to match in. And these are printed on matte photo paper. Most of the time when I did my journaling, it's on matte photo paper. If there's color on the background, it just comes out really nice and crisp on the matte photo paper. Favorite shows, I picked 6, and I stamped these little bitty TVs, and they're so thin, and then I used my X-Acto knife to trim those out and print those pictures really small and list those on there. So we have Outlander, then we have CSI, Murder, She Wrote, SVU, The Golden Girls, and Forensic Files. All right, something that makes me angry. I kind of did this messy stitching to kind of represent just the anger or the angst that you feel, and went with red, again, just to kind of represent anger. And then this opens up to show some journaling. Again, this is on matte photo paper. And I just picked 2 things that make me angry and I have a hard time understanding. And that is people that harm children and animals. Now, granted, there are many more things in the world right now that are making me angry, but these were just 2 that I chose to document. Number 11, after I did the whole page, I realized I did not leave space for my numbers, which, if you haven't noticed, they have been consistent throughout, and those were with the Carrie Bradford Outnumbered 2XL, and there's a feel and then an outline, and so I used those all the way through the book, except for this page because they would not fit. So this was just a flat lay of what's in my bag and then numbered and listed at the bottom. My parents, so I typed out or stamped out Mama and Daddy, and this is a picture of them about 6 months after they got married and about a year or so before I was born. Citrus Twist kits on these as well. And then I just did a little journaling here, again, matte photo paper. And this one is my family. So this picture was from, I think, 2 years ago, 2019, when we went out to, where did we go? Was it Dave & Buster's, maybe? I can't remember now, but it was on my birthday, and this was after we got back home. And so there again are our dogs. And I cut up this 4x6 card from the We Story kit from Allie Edwards. And just they were already like interacting with the edges, and so I just made them fit around my photo and my page. This day was hard. Things that make me cry. These are legitimate tears. It is a picture from March the 10th of this year, which is a day that I will never forget because it is the day that I seriously considered ending my life. I've always, or well, not always, but for years and years as an adult have dealt with depression and anxiety. I have some chronic illnesses. I have chronic pain from an old car accident, a lot of things going on. And everything had kind of come to a head on this day, and it was a rough day. I did end up going to a mental health facility for about a week to kind of move beyond this point, and I feel much better and stronger now. But it is still hard to look at this, and I did do quite a bit of journaling here. Again, I'm being very open, very raw, very authentic with what I'm sharing in hopes that maybe there might be someone that needs to see it or hear it. Okay, something that inspires me is bravery. This is something I strive to have more of to get rid of some of my fears in a big way. Something I love to do is travel. So I use some pieces from an Allie Edwards travel kit. I have like 3 of them, so I'm not sure which one it came from, but that was from Allie Edwards. And then 17 was favorite color, so it is obviously pink. And what I did is I just chose a bunch of different papers. They were all from Paige Evans, mostly from Wonders and Go the Scenic Route, but there were a couple of older collections as well. And I just wanted to show a lot of different shades of pink, and this was one of the cut-aparts. I rounded the edges and then put my number there on top. Number 18 was favorite music or favorite bands. What did it say? Favorite music. So I had this cassette stamp on probably Feed Your Craft, I think. And so I made it a little pocket, and then on the back, I just did a little short journaling and listed out the bands that are in my 2 little photo strips that I made. And I did purple because purple reminds me of the 80s. I had a lot of purple things then, and that's when I grew up. That's when I was in high school, and so most of my bands are also from the 80s. This one was very simple. It's talking about morning routine. And so I used these labels from Allie Edwards, and I just stamped out kind of going, around the page, the order in which I do things in the morning, starting off with complaining about having to get out of bed. This was my favorite treat, which is Extreme Moose Tracks ice cream. I love it, love it, love it. And I picked up on this green color here in my ice cream scoop as kind of what to highlight there, just to make it pop a bit. Self-care was number 21. So I did how I fill my self-care bucket with a cut file. I used a couple of different cut files for the shovels, and I have a mani-pedi, meditation, yoga, therapy, and a bubble bath. So those are just some of the ways that I feel like I take care of myself and my mental health. Me time, things that I like to do to celebrate me. So I ended up making this little kind of like a belly band, but it doesn't go all the way around, that I never did go back and put anything on the back of. It's held down with a Velcro dot, and then I made this flip out. And so you can see all of that. So the things that I documented were crafting, scrapbooking, reading, puzzles of all kinds, and then shopping and gaming. I love to play my Switch that my boys gave me. 23 was my favorite person, so I chose Dolly Parton and obviously went with Hello Dolly. I made this on my Mink, and I chose her because I wrote that she is unapologetically herself. She's a big philanthropist. She gives a lot of money to a lot of good causes. She's very generous. I love her positive outlook on life. It's not that I'm a huge country music fan. I'm not. She has a beautiful voice, but I just love her as a person. And I often say that she's my hero because of some of those qualities. This is another one that I switched around a bit from some of the things up at the top and kind of made it work for me. So it was sibling. I have one little brother, and so I highlighted little by putting it in the lowercase of this stamp. It's the Apollo stamp set from Feed Your Craft, and it comes in upper and lower, and it also has an outline. And then I did journaling here. And all of this journaling that I'm covering up or putting behind a picture, it's not that I don't want it to be seen. I'm happy for you to see it. I just enjoy doing interactive things, and I just didn't want to have, just a picture and a journaling block on every page. I wanted to try to vary it up as much as I could. 25 was worst habits, and so I cut both of these out from some Sizzix Tim Holtz dies, and they have a little bit of embossing on them as well. And these pages played very well off of each other with the pink dots, black and white squares, black and white squares. So when I saw that that was happening with the papers that I chose, I really ran with that. And on these 4, I did have journaling typed up for all 4 of them and fully intended for them to be flip ups. However, this was one time that it's not that I didn't want to share the journaling, it was that I did not want to see the journaling. We hear about sometimes it's a good idea like to write a letter or make a note and you burn it or throw it away. Well, this was kind of my crafty version of that. I actually taped the journaling blocks to the back of each one of these and then glued them down so that they're there. I know they're there, but I don't have to read it. And then on this one, best traits organized, creative, determined, and optimistic. Even though I've had some times where I've really felt down and discouraged, in the core of my being, I am still optimistic that things are going to work out, that things will be okay in the end. 27 was your partner, which for me is my spouse, my husband. We have been married for a little over 31 years. We have been together for about 35 years. And so I put this picture of him from his 50th birthday a couple of years ago when we went and did the Porsche driving experience, and he got to go around the track and do all these things for a couple of hours in the Porsches, and me and our boys got to take a ride around with professional drivers, and you spend the day touring and just having a really good time. And then I just journaled a little letter to him. This was favorite spot in your home, and for me, it is my bedroom. Even though I love my craft room, my bedroom it's a very dark gray. It's probably darker even. It's more like what's in this picture than what shows up here. And my husband, who cares nothing about home decor, even said after I painted it this dark color, or we painted it because he helped me, he said, you know, it just feels quieter in here. And it is. It's a very serene, peaceful, calming feeling place. And I love to be in there. All right, for number 29, social media made me buy it. I did the shot box because it was definitely something that, because I kept seeing it being used and advertised, that I picked up when they had it on a really good deal at Michael's. You got the whole kit for about or even less than the original price of the shot box itself. And you'll notice I've kind of gone to, like these were die cut. I've gone to printed journaling from just making something match from Photoshop because it had gotten so lumpy and bumpy. Even with my little stampy pad that I put under there, it was really getting hard to stamp. So I just kind of went with computer generated titles here at the end. Your go-to haircut was number 30, and I like short and sweet with a little spunk and sass. And I had gone from March of 2020 until I did get a haircut in May, just at like a quick little great clips or whatever they are. But I actually made it to a real salon for a real haircut and color for the first time since March of 2020. I just did that this past week. So in August, around the 20 something. So that's a long time. So I was glad to kind of be back to myself. All right, the last one was favorite book. Of course, I did books. Had a hard time picking just these 6, but these are the ones that I went with. And just kept it simple with the book pages printed out, did a little journaling. I kind of did some picking of the color again to tie that journaling in. And I had to do my stamping onto a piece of paper. This was from Citrus Twist Kits. I just did it on the paper because, again, stamping into this was not going to really be an option. And then it leaves you with one empty page. So the Heidi Swap storyline chapters will hold 31 stories plus a little introduction page and a page left over at the end. So that was a very quick look at my album. I loved doing this project. I love having so many little stories and memories and tidbits about me in this book. I love that it has a lot of interaction, that all the pages are a little different, that I used a lot of different techniques, different products. There's all kinds of texture. So I really enjoy doing it, and I'm very thankful that Hiba shared this with us at the beginning of the year. So I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate it more than you know. There will be a link to the playlist if you would like to see the process videos and have not seen them yet. Also, over on my Instagram, there are lots of photos for each one of the different groups of days. So you can find me there at michelles.empty.nest, and I'd love for you to follow me over there. And that'll wrap us up for today. So thank you so much once again. If you love this video, please give me a thumbs up below and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. So I will see you next time. Bye-bye.